At the beginning of the film, we meet a young woman named Zoe, who is heading out to see her fiancé. Before she leaves, her mother hands her the keys to a car, reminding her to drive safely. Zoe reassures her with a smile, promising, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be fine." Excited for the reunion, Zoe sets off on her journey. On the road, she snaps a quick selfie for her fiancé, letting him know how far she's gotten. Not long after, she passes an elderly man selling handmade crafts on the roadside. She slows down briefly to take a look, then continues on her way. Moments later, distracted by her phone, Zoe suddenly slams on the brakes when an injured man stumbles in front of her car. Shaken, she sees him collapse on the ground, just as another group of men in a speeding vehicle runs someone else down, killing him instantly. The gang notices Zoe, and before she can escape, she rushes to help the man she nearly hit. She lifts him into her car, but the gang closes in. In front of Zoe's eyes, they cruelly butcher the man. Terrified, Zoe tries to flee, but their leader, Trey, shoots her in the leg. She collapses, and the gang drags her back to their hideout. There, she's tied to a bed and subjected to unimaginable torture. Meanwhile, Zoe's fiancé grows frantic when she doesn't return home. Remembering the last selfie she sent, he studies the background and spots a road sign, her last known location. Desperate, he alerts the police, begging them to find her. Back at the hideout, Trey continues his sadistic torment. During one of his rants, he reveals a chilling family secret. His grandfather once massacred an entire Native American tribe. He even shows Zoe a hidden stash of ancient bones, boasting that they belonged to the tribe's slain chief. Later, as the gang drinks and gambles, Trey insists Zoe must suffer before she dies. When he loses a bet, another member steps forward with a knife. Against all odds, Zoe manages to break free from her ropes. But she's caught and stabbed multiple times, left bleeding out on the floor. At that very moment, the old man Zoe had met earlier, the roadside craftsman, passes by with his dog. Horrified at the sight, he rushes her to his secluded shelter. Using ancient tribal remedies, he treats her wounds, chanting prayers passed down through generations. It's then revealed that this man is the last surviving member of the very tribe Trey's grandfather annihilated. Determined to restore balance, he begins a powerful ritual. As Zoe's body rises from the ground, his ancient words echo with a promise of vengeance and rebirth. Zoe gasps for air, her chest heaving, until her eyes snap open, pitch black. A vengeful spirit has claimed her body. Instead of showing gratitude, she lashes out violently at the old man who saved her. Using his own spiritual powers, he manages to subdue her, knocking her unconscious. Meanwhile, Zoe's fiancé finally arrives in town and checks into a nearby hotel. Hours later, Zoe awakens in a strange part of the city. Disoriented, she stumbles to a payphone and calls her fiancé, assuring him she's alive and safe. Overwhelmed, he traces the call and races to her location. While waiting, Zoe spots a police officer nearby and approaches him for help. But something feels off. As she gets closer, she realizes he's no officer. He's one of Trey's men. Curious and suspicious, she follows him into a crowded nightclub. When he notices her, his face drains of color. Zoe's eyes turn black again. The spirit takes over. In a savage frenzy, she stabs him, ripping his intestines out before finishing him off. Another gang member fires at her, but Zoe moves with inhuman speed, smashing a chair across his face and knocking him cold. Moments later, her fiancé arrives at the payphone, only to find police swarming the scene. Frantic, he begs them for answers, explaining Zoe called him less than an hour ago. One officer replies grimly, "There's been a murder here, but the girl you're looking for is gone." Trey and his gang soon arrive, furious after discovering their friend's corpse. Zoe's fiancé shows them her photo, asking if they've seen her. The gang demands he leave immediately, but when he mentions Zoe's phone call from the same spot, their expressions shift from anger to unease. Enraged, Trey tries to lunge at him, but the police step in, forcing a standoff. That night, Zoe wakes up again, this time inside a decrepit shed lit only by a flickering lamp. A door creaks open, revealing a hidden room filled with weapons and hunting gear. Determined, she grabs a bow and arrows before vanishing into the darkness. Meanwhile, Trey's gang returns to the shallow grave where they buried Zoe, only to discover her body is missing. Fear spreads quickly. One insists there's no way she survived. An animal must have dragged her off. But Trey isn't convinced. Deep down, he senses something unnatural. As they prepare to flee town, one member steps outside and freezes. Arrows are lodged in his car. Shaking, he records a panicked voice message to Trey. She's here. That girl, she's watching us. Suddenly, Zoe steps from the shadows, her black eyes glowing faintly. She fires a rapid volley of arrows, each one striking with deadly precision. Within seconds, the man collapses, his body riddled with shafts. When Trey listens to the message, dread consumes him. At the same time, Zoe begins to notice something horrifying. Her flesh is decaying, her wounds crawling with worms. Terrified, she staggers to a nearby old man, begging for help. His voice is low and unsettling as he reveals the truth. When I found you, Zoe, you were already dead. I dug you out of your grave and performed a sacred ritual to bring your soul back. But during that ritual, another spirit entered your body, a war chief for my tribe, a warrior seeking vengeance for the massacre that wiped out his people. The family responsible, he pauses, locking eyes with her, is Trey's family. You and the war chief now share the same enemy. Finally, he warns her gravely, your body is rotting, Zoe. Time is running out. If we don't act now, it will be too late. Across town, Trey begins plotting his next move, a plan far more dangerous than ever before. Trey hatches a desperate plan. He'll kidnap Zoe's fiancé, believing that holding him hostage will keep her away. But Zoe's fiancé, consumed with grief over losing her, never sees it coming. Trey and his gang storm into his room, beat him savagely, drag him outside, and shove him into their car. But fate intervenes. On a lonely stretch of road, Zoe suddenly appears. Before anyone can react, she fires an arrow straight through one of Trey's men. Trey and his last remaining friend freeze in terror. Panicked, they slam the gas, but Zoe leaps onto the roof of the speeding car. A violent, blood-soaked fight erupts on top of the vehicle. Trey's friend stabs her again and again, but the blade does nothing. In desperation, Trey slams the brakes, sending Zoe flying. Without hesitation, he runs her over again and again, crushing her beneath the wheels. But even then, she doesn't die. Terrified, Trey speeds off, dragging her fiancé to a hidden location. Meanwhile, Trey's wounded friend, choking on his own blood, whispers. Zoe tapes her rotting body tightly to keep herself together. Her breath is ragged. Her eyes burn with fury. Suddenly, the warchief's spirit appears before her, placing two ancient weapons into her trembling hands. That night, Trey's injured friend tries to flee for safety. But Zoe appears in the road again. With unearthly precision, she hurls a spear straight through his windshield. The car flips violently and crashes in flames. Another life claimed. Desperate, Trey confronts the old man, demanding answers. The old man reveals the truth. The spirit of the war chief lives inside Zoe. And it will not rest until your bloodline is erased. There's only one way to end this. You must burn the skull of the tribe's chief. Trey scrambles to gather every ancient skull he can find, piling them together. But one is missing, the leader's skull. Out of the shadows, Zoe appears, holding it in her hands. Trey roars in rage, grabs a chainsaw, and charges. What follows is a blood-soaked showdown, steel against flesh, screams piercing the night. Zoe slices off Trey's arm, but in agony, he drives the chainsaw deep into her torso. Even then, she refuses to fall. Fueled by vengeance, Zoe delivers one final strike, decapitating Trey in a single, savage blow. The warchief's vengeance is complete. Moments later, Zoe's fiancé arrives at the graveyard, guided there by the old man. His heart breaks at the sight of Zoe's half-burned, rotting body, lying motionless on the ground. He kneels beside her, tears streaming, whispering, "I love you, Zoe." With trembling hands, he sets her body ablaze, finally freeing her from her torment. As flames consume the night, the old man reveals the truth of it all: the massacre, the ritual, the vengeance that passed through generations. And that is where the story ends. If you enjoyed this recap and want to see more dark, thrilling stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. Your support helps us keep bringing you epic movie recaps every week.